I want you to imagine, just for a second, waking up tomorrow morning, grabbing your phone, and opening your banking app.
Oh, that's always a stressful moment,
I
right?
totally. But the screen loads,
Right.
and instead of your usual balance, you realize you are a multimillionaire.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Yeah, but here's the catch. The currency, it isn't dollars, it isn't euros, and it definitely isn't crypto.
Hmm.
It's actually a type of wealth you have possessed since the exact moment you were born.
Hmm.
But, you've probably spent your entire life completely ignoring it.
Which is such a wild concept because, I mean, the baseline of human existence might not actually be this, constant state of lack that we're used to.
Yep.
It might actually be an overwhelming, unacknowledged abundance. But it requires a pretty profound shift in perspective to actually see it that way.
And that is exactly why we are here. Welcome to this deep dive. Today, our mission is to explore a radically different definition of wealth and what it actually means to be truly well-informed about the very nature of human existence.
Yeah, we are digging into a fascinating 2025 essay by an author named Xu Feng. It's titled The Eight Treasures Every Life is Born With.
And just reading through the source material, it completely flips the script on what we consider a successful life, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Xu Feng immediately just reorients our entire value system. He frames the pursuit of material wealth as, well, a fundamental misstep.
Like a huge distraction.
Exactly, a total distraction. According to the text, the true theme of human life isn't accumulation at all. It's elevation.
Elevation, right?
The author argues that when a person is born, or, as the text phrases it, when they descend into the mortal world, they arrive already equipped with these eight great treasures. And these are bestowed by what the text calls the greatest creator.
When I first read that part, my mind went to a very specific visual.
Oh, yeah, what was that?
It's like, imagine we've been dropped into this incredibly luxurious, all-inclusive resort. The weather is perfect, the food is incredible, the beaches are pristine, but instead of actually enjoying the amenities and, swimming in the ocean, we spend our entire trip frantically running up and down the hallways trying to steal the hotel towels.
That is such a perfect analogy.
Right. We are just hoarding these relatively worthless little cotton squares while completely missing out on the actual vacation we were sent on.
Yeah, hoarding the towels while ignoring the ocean. And Xu Feng extends this idea by framing life not just as a stationary experience, but actually as a journey.
Right.
The text suggests that a life, and by the way, that's capitalized in the source to denote a sort of spiritual essence, is simply borrowing a human body to travel through this mortal world.
So it's a road trip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if we are on a journey, the natural question becomes, well, where are we actually going?
Right. What's the destination?
The essay posits that the ideal destination, like the ultimate goal of this elevation, is the kingdom of heaven.
And the author introduces this really specific, almost mathematical metaphor for the journey.
Yeah, the 100 kilometers.
Right. We are asked to imagine the total distance from our arrival on Earth to reaching the kingdom of heaven as being exactly 100 kilometers.
And that 100-kilometer metaphor is super central to understanding the strict parameters Xu Feng outlines for, spiritual success.
Because it's a pass-fail system, basically.
Oh, completely. The criteria for actually arriving are totally uncompromising. If your life's journey ends at 90 kilometers, you don't arrive.
Wow.
Even if you make it to 99 kilometers, the text states plainly, and I'm quoting here, to miss one is still to miss all.
But, if missing it by a single kilometer means a total loss, this journey sounds incredibly fragile. Like, how does a person fall short so easily?
Honestly, by carrying way too much weight.
Ah, the towels.
Exactly, the towels. The essay states that traveling burdened with painfully earned possessions makes you weary, and a weary traveler simply cannot go very far.
Makes sense.
If you spend your life dragging like a literal vault of gold behind you, your focus shifts away from the path ahead. It shifts to the sheer physical and mental exhaustion of just protecting that weight.
Right. So the material wealth you spent your whole life earning basically becomes the very anchor that prevents your elevation.
You nailed it. It completely anchors you.
The text also mentions that if a lifetime covers only, say, 30 or 40 kilometers, the road doesn't just end short of heaven. It ends somewhere else entirely, which I found fascinating.
Yeah, falling that short means the journey likely ends in what the author calls the domain of animals.
Which sounds a little intense.
It does, but let's look at the mechanics behind that claim. A failure to elevate oneself spiritually implies, according to the text, a regression in consciousness.
Okay.
The heavy lifting of ego and all that material obsession, it densifies the spirit. So if you only make it 30 kilometers, you haven't cultivated enough spiritual lightness.
Right, your consciousness is basically tethered to pure physical survival.
Exactly. Survival and accumulation, which is a very instinctual vibration. And that instinct matches a lower resonance, pulling you right into the animal domain in whatever comes next.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second.
Go for it.
Because I'm imagining someone listening to this right now while they are stuck in traffic, commuting to a very real job.
Yeah, of course.
It's super easy for a philosopher to say, don't pack heavy, let go of material possessions. But, rent is still due, groceries are expensive. How exactly are we supposed to travel this 100-kilometer road without packing any provisions?
And that right there is what brings us to the core of the essay. Shuofeng's answer is that the author doesn't expect you to travel without provisions at all.
Oh, okay.
The argument is that the provisions are actually already provided. They are literally waiting for you upon your arrival. You don't need to pack them, you don't need to earn them, and you definitely don't need to buy them.
The cosmic freebies.
The cosmic freebies, yes.
This is where we get into the first 4 of the 8 treasures provided by the greatest creator. We have the sun, the air, water, and earth or soil.
Right, and on the surface, I know these just sound like basic biological necessities from like a primary school science class.
Right. Water is wet, sun is hot.
Exactly. But Shuofeng frames them as this profound, immeasurable wealth. Let's just look at air for a second. The Tyus points out the sheer wonder of drawing our first independent breath. But more importantly, the author highlights these elements as the ultimate equalizers in life.
Yeah, the essay points out that whether you are a president, a billionaire, or a shepherd, in the freedom to breathe the air, all are exactly equal.
Nobody gets premium air.
Right.
And water stands right alongside the sun and air in importance. The author makes this really compelling point about the illusion of need.
I loved this part.
Right, because we spend our whole lives convinced that we need certain things to survive. But a human being can actually live without money. You can live without a house, a car, electricity, and technically even without clothing. But you absolutely cannot live without the sun, air, and water.
It's so true. We spend our whole lives paying, stressing, and laboring for the things we could technically live without. Meanwhile, the absolute non-negotiables, the things we literally cannot exist without for more than a few days, or in the case of air, a few minutes, they're handed to us completely for free.
It's totally backwards.
It's like paying exorbitant prices for the terrible Wi-Fi on a flight while completely ignoring the complimentary oxygen mask that is actively keeping you alive.
Yeah.
We got our priorities totally backward.
That's a great way to put it. We place all our value on what is scarce and artificially priced rather than what is vital and just freely abundant. Nature's design makes water inexhaustible and vast. Rivers, lakes, seas, groundwater, it abounds. And the earth and its soil operate as the greatest creator's storehouse for life.
Because it's where all things grow.
Exactly. It's where we receive abundant food. And this, according to the framework of the text, is true wealth.
But, survival alone doesn't make for good road trip.
True.
Keeping the biological machine running with sun, air, water, and soil is necessary, obviously. But mere survival isn't the same as a joyful passage. If you're walking 100 kilometers, you kind of want something beautiful to look at.
And that brings us to the internal, aesthetic, and sensory experiences. These are treasures 5 through 8.
Okay, let's hear them.
So the 5th treasure is the myriad phenomena, and this encompasses the seasons spring, summer, autumn, winter. It's the landscapes, the wind, cloud, rain, snow.
The birds, the beasts, the dawn and the dusk.
Exactly, all the phenomena of nature.
Because without these phenomena, the road is barren and life is just dull. And to experience them, we need the 6th treasure, which is our physical senses.
Right.
Eyes to see, ears to hear, a nose to smell, a tongue to taste, legs to walk, hands to hold. The author calls these wondrous gifts given at birth.
And those physical senses, they actually trigger the 7th treasure, which is perhaps the most philosophically rich one in the whole essay.
Yeah, this one was deep.
It's the capacity for sensation, feeling, resonance, and being moved. So this isn't just about the mechanical function of the 5 senses. It is about the emotional resonance those senses create within us.
The text uses these gorgeous poetic images to explain what resonance really means. Like, it talks about sensing the physical changes in temperature, sure, but also feeling the chill or warmth of human dealings.
Beautifully put.
Tasting the warmth and sweetness of love alongside feeling pain or, another person's joy. It even quotes poetry like, I lift my head and see the bright moon. I lower it and think of home.
I love that line.
Or being stirred when gibbons call from both banks and the skiff has already passed 10,000 ranges. Or when the cataract plunges as if the Milky Way fell from the ninth heaven. It's just so vivid.
It is vivid. And let's explore the actual mechanics of that resonance for a second. Like, why is being moved to tears by a landscape considered a literal treasure?
Yeah, why use that word?
Because resonance is the actual currency of spiritual elevation. A rock doesn't feel awe, right? No. When you feel that chill of human dealings or the warmth of love, your consciousness is actively expanding. Sufeng elevates emotional vulnerability to the status of a divine treasure. It is the texture of human consciousness. And, once again, it is completely free.
Which is amazing. Then we hit the eighth treasure, which I have to admit feels a little bit unexpected in a spiritual text.
Oh, you mean sexual organs and sexual delight?
Yeah, it just sort of surprised me.
It surprises a lot of people, but it is actually perfectly logically consistent within the framework of the essay.
How so?
Well, the author states that without sexual organs and the capacity for sexual delight, life just loses its flavor and joy. Sufeng impartially points out that palaces, office rank, or, literal mountains of gold and silver pale in comparison to this innate biological capacity for bliss.
And once again, it is framed as the great equalizer.
Yes, exactly.
The text claims that a rustic from the poorest village knows this joy just as keenly as any president or billionaire. This utmost beauty bears absolutely no relation to power, status, or material wealth. It's just a built-in feature of the human experience.
So, if we synthesize these 8 treasures, the sun, air, water, earth, the myriad phenomena, our senses, our capacity to feel, and sexual delight, the author's conclusion is that every single person is born a true millionaire of wealth.
Wow.
This is literally framed as the greatest creator's love for human life.
Okay, but this brings up a huge question for me. Just to play devil's advocate here.
Please do.
If every single one of us is walking around equipped with these 8 perfect treasures, basically born as billionaires in this cosmic currency, why is the world so relentlessly stressed out?
Good question.
Like, why do we constantly exploit Mother Earth? Why do we toil day and night, sinking into worry and sorrow, if we already have absolutely everything we need?
The text asks that very same question. Since the greatest creator has given these 8 treasures, do we still need to fret over tomorrow? The logical answer is no. But we artificially manufacture scarcity out of pure abundance.
We manufacture it.
Yes. The misery doesn't come from a lack of natural provision. It comes from greed and possessiveness.
And those statistics in the essay are pretty aggressive on this point. It states that 5% of people hold 85% of Earth's resources, leaving 95% of humanity to share only 15%.
Yeah, the math is stark.
And just to be clear to the listener, we aren't here to endorse a specific economic policy today. We're just unpacking the text. But looking at his math, it is a fascinating way to frame the illusion of scarcity.
For sure. The author uses those numbers to show the sheer scale of the hoarding. When resources are hoarded to such an extreme degree, the vast majority of people are forced to labor under the illusion of shortage.
Because the towels are all locked in someone else's room.
Exactly. But Sufeng actually takes this critique even further. He applies the concept of possessiveness not just to physical resources like land or money, but to human intimacy itself.
Which circles right back to that 8th treasure.
It does.
This was honestly one of the most provocative points in the whole essay for me.
Yeah, the text argues that if sexual intimacy were not claimed as a private possession, it would remain abundant and ever-flowing.
Right.
But once intimacy is seized, guarded out of possessiveness, and treated as a commodity, that natural abundance turns into scarcity.
Wow.
Our possessive mindset corrupts even the most innate biological joys.
It's like someone trying to capture a beautiful breeze by sealing it in a glass jar.
Oh, I like that.
Right. The moment you trap it, put a lid on it, and call it yours, it immediately stops being a breeze.
It just becomes stale air.
Exactly. You destroy the very thing you were trying to enjoy simply by trying to own it.
That analogy captures the mechanism of possessiveness perfectly. Greed attempts to own what was only meant to be experienced.
Yeah.
When we try to own the earth or own another person's affection, we create boundaries, we create shortages, and ultimately suffering. Abundance was meant for all to enjoy, but it gets lost to this relentless need to claim ownership.
So what is the actual fix here? If we recognize we are carrying way too many heavy bags on our 100-kilometer journey, and we are constantly trying to put breezes into jars, what does the author suggest we actually do?
Well, the essay mentions walking the way of the greatest creator, the Chanyuan path.
But what does that actually look like in practice, like on a Tuesday?
The Chanyuan path, at least in the context of this philosophy, is a fundamental shift in our operating rhythm. It basically means living as a guest on Earth rather than an owner.
A guest, not an owner.
You're right. Practically, the text implies letting go of the obsession with securing your legacy or hoarding resources for a future that really isn't guaranteed anyway.
Yeah.
You align your daily actions with the abundance already provided. You release the grip of private possession, rely on the natural flow of the greatest creator's provisions, and prioritize cultivating those internal treasures.
Like awe and resonance.
Exactly. You prioritize those over expanding your material footprint.
Living as a guest instead of an owner. Whether or not you subscribe to the specific theology of this Chanyuan path, this text forces a really powerful audit of how we spend our time.
It really does.
It forces us to ask, what is my personal definition of wealth? Am I exhausting myself chasing after hotel towels while completely taking for granted my own capacity to be moved by a starry night?
It's a vital audit. And that raises a really fascinating question about where humanity is heading next.
Oh, how so?
Well, if true wealth is our physical senses, our connection to nature, and our biological capacity for resonance, what happens as we move further into an era of virtual reality and increasingly digital lives?
Oh, wow.
Right. If we spend all our time in synthetic environments chasing digital status and virtual possessions, are we essentially trading our innate biological millions for synthetic pennies?
Synthetic pennies, that is a heavy thought. And that is a question you should absolutely take with you the next time you put on a VR headset or, check your banking app.
Remember what currency you are really trading in. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you something incredible to think about, and we will catch you next time.